Okay, Jim Tavigia back with you again. And so I started a new story. Well, it's somewhat new. Um, it's based on Timmy and Rusty. Timmy is a 10-year-old boy, about a fifth grader, and his dog Rusty, who's a golden retriever, and his best friend Ben, who's in the same grade with Timmy, lives right across the street. And this is really a story that's written for probably fifth and sixth graders to read. It's a little bit more dynamic than when I was growing up. We had Alice and Jerry and Jip, which was written by Mabel O'Donnell, who actually lived in the town and wrote the books for the elementary school kids. It was probably more based on kindergarten and first graders, but was very simple language for younger children to learn to read. So this one is based on a story that I began telling our now 27-year-old son Nick when he was very small, and I would go in and tell him this made-up story at night before he went to bed every night. And my mistake was not to take a tape recorder with me and actually record the story. So I decided I would go back and try to relive some of that story and be able to tell it again. And I've written it all out, 12-point type, and I'm up to 7 chapters, and I'm going to keep writing a chapter every day. I don't want the book to get too long. Maybe about 100 pages will be about enough, because if it gets much longer than that, if I ever did publish it, a lot of kids wouldn't read it, because they're not going to read a real long story unless it happens to, they really like it and intrigue them. So we'll see how that goes. So Timmy was not unlike so many 10-year-old boys in his neighborhood of Hastings Mills. He loved riding his bike all over town. He loved his dog, a beautiful golden retriever, who went everywhere with Timmy. And his best friend across the street, Ben Johnson, they had known each other since before they started kindergarten together at Bardwell Elementary School. Those three amigos seemed inseparable, and it was rare that they were not all seen together. Timmy's house was a white 2-story cape with 4-foot-tall white picket fence all around the front of the house, with a gate in the front that opened onto the cement sidewalk. The sidewalk ran up to the house that had 3 steps, and there was a 5-foot square landing before the rounded top front door. The door was solid mahogany and very beautiful. There was also a side gate to the right, which went to the wide driveway that went back to the side of the house on the right, where there was a 2-car garage in the back. The house and the garage sat on a nearly 1-acre lot and had beautiful green grass and stunning flower beds all around the house. Timmy had plenty to do just to keep the grass cut like his father and mother liked it, but he was good at it, and he loved how the yard looked when he was finished with his weekly grass-cutting chore. His father kept their Snapper pack-and-sack self-propelled push lawnmower in great condition, and it vacuumed up all of the grass cuttings in a bin that was held between the 2 handlebars and into a 30-gallon garbage bag. The yard was impeccable when Timmy was done, and usually Rusty would sit on the front porch or the back stoop while Timmy was working. Timmy said to whoever came by that Rusty was the supervisor and deserved a big milk bone dog biscuit when he was finished. Ben had similar chores at his house, a 2-story salt box style house that was beautiful with a light gray paint job and navy blue shutters. Their driveway was on the left, but had no fence in the front, but did have a chain link fence that fully enclosed their backyard. And they also had a 2-car garage, but it was not 2 cars wide, but was 2 cars deep, and it opened onto the back alleyway. Ben did have a large silver maple tree in his backyard that had 2 swings attached to the lowest large branch. Ben and Timmy would often be swinging together as they planned their next adventure. To keep in touch when they were not together, they had a pair of low-power, short-distance family walkie-talkies they could use to talk to each other long into the night if they wished. They had rechargeable batteries, which was a big help in not wasting their allowance money they both had earned from their grass-cutting work. They generally tried to cut their respective yards on the same day to not intrude in their fun time together. They also each had grass-cutting jobs for the houses to the left and right of their own. That was convenient and kept them in snack money when they were out riding their bikes on their adventures. The boys would also go down to the local Baptist church and help straighten up the Bibles and hymnals every Monday after the Sunday service, and on Wednesday night after that service to help out the church secretary, Miss Miller. She had been at the church over 40 years and was turning 70 on the next Saturday. Timmy and Ben were putting together some of their money to get her a nice bouquet of flowers for the reception that would be next Sunday for her at the church. Sometimes the boy would stop by on Friday in the morning and help her prepare the Sunday bulletins. Mostly the boys just liked to ride their bike all over town, and it was so safe that their parents had no concerns about them being on their own most of the time. They knew to keep their moms posted about where they were going and when to expect to be back home. They knew it was not good to have them worry about them. Grass cutting was yesterday, so they decided to ride out to Phillips Park and just ride along the circular sidewalk running trails that were there around the 40-acre park. It had beautiful gardens, many water features, a sprinkler system on cement that the kids could run through in the summer to cool off. It also had a 20-foot-tall waterfall at the entrance that had beautiful flowers on each side. At the top were 2 World War II cannons that the boys loved to climb on and would slide out onto the barrels, but to be careful not to fall off what was only a 5-foot drop to the ground. They were not the first and would not be the last to do that. On the weekends, there was a family that brought out their 6 ponies and would charge only $1 for a pony ride and a wood fence circle that the city had made for them. That was a big hit on the weekends for sure. Today, the boys found a 3/4 inch by 4 foot by 8 foot piece of plywood sitting off to the side and decided to make a jump ramp for their bikes. They found an old 6-foot long log about 1 foot in diameter and pulled it up and set it at one end of the plywood on top. They would then get back about 30 feet and get a running start on their bikes and ride up on the plywood, pull up on the handlebars to jump into the air about 2 to 3 feet and have the best time. 2 other boys they did not know asked if they could try. All 4 boys had the best times for about an hour taking turns and see who could stay airborne the longest. It was quite a contest. Timmy and Ben said bye to the other boys, who kept riding, but they were getting hungry and decided to head home for some lunch, which was always peanut butter and jelly. Timmy liked strawberry jam and Ben liked grape, and that was the menu every day. Potato chips and milk were always on the menu. After the boys would sit in Timmy's living room and would take a comic book out of Timmy's stash and would read for about 30 minutes. There was always the normal assortment of action heroes, from Superman to the Green Hornet and Batman. It did not matter if they had read it 100 times before. Timmy's mom had also brought out some coloring books on the same characters that the boys could color in once they got tired of reading. They never lacked for something to do together. Over at Ben's house, he had an erector set, and the boys loved building things. His set also had a motor, and that the biggest thing they ever built was a small Ferris wheel that really worked. Then they would take it apart and build some crazy-looking vehicles. They could just let their imaginations run wild. It was just another day in the adventures of Timmy and Rusty and Ben. Chapter 2. Timmy was up bright and early on Saturday, got dressed and a trip to the bathroom, brushed his teeth, combed his hair, and ran downstairs into the kitchen where his mom was making pancakes and bacon for breakfast. His dad was reading the paper and had some coffee to the right of his plate. "Hi, Mom and Dad," said Timmy. "Are we doing anything special today?" he asked. "Not that I know of," said Mom. "Anything on your plate today?" said Mom to Dad. "Not anything important," he replied. "I'm going to tune up the lawnmower, but that is not a really exciting thing for a Saturday, I guess." "No, honey, I guess not," said Mom with a laugh. "Could Ben come over for breakfast?" asked Timmy. "We have big plans for today," he added with much excitement. "Oh, you do?" asked Dad. "And what could that be?" he inquired. "Well," began Timmy, "Mr. Johnson down at the hardware store has a new shipment of toys coming in. They came yesterday, and he asked if we could come down and help put them up in the display windows in the front of the store." "Of course," I said we could, added Timmy with great excitement. "Well, that sounds like a pretty big job," said Dad. "I'll bet that will be fun as well," he replied with a big smile. "Do you boys need a ride downtown?" he asked. "No," said Timmy. "We're just going to ride our bikes, and Mr. Johnson said if we worked hard, he would buy us lunch at the ice cream shop next door, with cheeseburgers and fries, and any flavor malt we would like," added Timmy. "Well, you better call Ben and have him come over quick so you can eat and be on your way," stated Dad. With that, Timmy went over to the wall phone and dialed Ben's number and told him pancakes and bacon will be ready in 10 minutes and bring his bike so they could head right out anyway. Timmy hung up the phone and said that Ben would be right here, and he really liked pancakes as well. Ben brought his bike over and parked it by the garage in the rear and knocked on the back door. Timmy let him in. "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Jones," said Ben. "Thanks for the pancakes this morning, as I was just going to pour a bowl of old cornflakes, but this is way better," he added. Timmy's parents said hi to Ben and let the boys dig into the pancakes and bacon. Timmy and Ben both liked log cabin syrup on their pancakes. They ate quickly, scraped their plates into the trash can, rinsed them in the sink so the syrup would not get hard, and placed their plates and glasses in the dishwasher. This was to help Timmy's mom out of that terrible chore. Timmy and Ben said their goodbyes and rushed out the door, grabbed their bikes, headed down the driveway, turning right. They would head through the park and into downtown about a half-mile away, a quick ride for these two experienced bike riders. They soon arrived at Johnson's hardware store on Beacon Street. The Miller's ice cream shop sat to the right, and Bob's sporting goods store was on the left. Later in life, Bob's was going to be very important to the boys, both as football and baseball would become huge callings for both of them. Now, at 10 years old, some toys were just as important as a new baseball glove or bat. In a few years, which glove and bat to buy would become an all-encompassing thing for both of them. Ben was the best catcher on their Little League team, and Timmy was the best infielder and the team shortstop. Now it was all about the toy display and a great lunch if they worked hard. They always did. Mr. Johnson met the boys at the door, and he had them put their bikes in the back storeroom for safekeeping. "Come on back, boys," said Mr. Johnson. "Let's see what just came in yesterday for us to put in the windows." Quickly, the boys spotted 2 big boxes of Lionel train sets to be put on display, some Tonka trucks, some dolls for the girls, a couple of new bikes with streamers on the handlebars, and beautiful silver fenders. One was pink and one was royal blue, and of course they were Schwinn's. There was also a rack display for what seemed like over 100 Matchbox cars and trucks. Some of them were really tricked out rides, thought Ben. Some had crazy colors, and some of the trucks had huge motors rising out of the hood and exhaust pipes rising over the roof lines. Both Timmy and Rusty said it looked like Christmas Day. Mr. Johnson instructed the boys to move to the back room, anything in the front windows now, and then they would be putting up green AstroTurf rugs down on the display floors on both sides, and put oval train tracks in the center with one train set in each window left and right. A bike would go into the center of the oval, standing up on the kickstand. The boys' bike in the right window and the girls' bike in the left. Both of the train sets would be set up to ride around the oval around the bikes to get attention by passers-by. The boys got hard at work removing the current display goods and taking them into the back. Once that was done, Mr. Johnson had rolled up carpet for the boys to put down in the display window area. The fun part was getting to put the train sets together, first with the track on the big oval for each window. Timmy did the right window and Ben did the left. The door opening up into the store separated the 2 window displays. In Ben's window, he had a beautiful silver streak bullet train with silver and red passenger cars and silver and black trim caboose. The 2 of the passenger cars had observation deck windows on the top of the double-deck car. Ben loved that train. In Timmy's window, he installed a silver and red Santa Fe Zephyr train that had coal cars, box cars, cattle cars, and then 2 car carriers with 4 cars, 2 on the top and 2 inside on the bottom. Timmy really was going to ask Santa Claus for that one. Ben agreed that he would like the one he put on display as well. Little did they know that Mr. Johnson had already alerted the boys' parents after he saw how much the boys liked them, and told the parents they could have 20% off at Christmas time if they wanted to give them as presents. The parents agreed, and Mr. Johnson put 1 of each away. He had ordered 10 sets of each train set for Christmas time. The boys finished with the displays, put the bikes in place. Ben put the girls' bike in his left window, and the dolls and some extra clothing went in his display window along with the pink bike. He then went and helped Timmy put all the Matchbox cars in the hanging display. It